39 9/10. And I came out when I was 17. So I have been out for much more than that. And so I have never lived as an adult in the world as a straight person, or as a person who people thought was a straight person. Like, I was positive for like 5 minutes. And no, this is not going to work. So I have always lived my life as a person who people knew right away that I was gay. And it doesn't bother me. Susan and I were talking about this the other day as well, like, we forget we're gay. You know, like, you don't know until you're like meeting somebody new and all of a sudden they can't stop talking about gay issues. Because they're looking at you and thinking, gay, 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 gay. Let's just push through this.
The next question gets us back a little more focused on the subject of your book. What are your thoughts about drones in the military and where we're heading with that?
You know, I do think that CIA having control over that part of what we're doing as a country is a bad thing. And I am heartened by the fact that the person who seems to hold that belief most fervently, that the CIA ought not to be doing this constant war thing that they're doing. The person who seems to believe that most fervently and is most committed to making the change so CIA isn't doing that anymore is the guy who President Obama just put in charge of the CIA. When you talk about the civilian connection to war, if the war is covert, we almost by definition cannot have any connection to it. So getting that out of the CIA and putting it under traditional lines of authority so that we see it as war is important. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. In my most optimistic moments, I think that President Obama has as much commitment to this issue as John Brennan has voiced, and that putting him at CIA was because he wanted somebody who he could count on to effectuate this policy. And that's a very important factor, because once an agency starts doing something, once part of the government or part of any institution gets responsibility for something, and does it, and gets good at it, and gets money associated with it, they never want to give it up. That's part of the overall drift that we have as a country, is that we've had the military do so much, and we've super-resourced them so much, that they are better at doing everything that they do than any other part of government that is comparably atrophied. And so we were supposed to have this civilian surge in Iraq and a civilian surge in Afghanistan. And Bob Gates and Hillary Clinton went around and gave joint speeches talking about how the State Department needed to be up-resourced and that the Defense Department needed to stop doing everything because we need other forms of power. We will be a stronger nation if we can do things with using personnel who have tools other than rifles. And they believed it. But every time they tried to go do something, you know what? It turns out the military has 50 times the budget. And they've been doing it already. And they're better at it. And they've got 10 times as many people. And the will is there. But the Leviathan security state, it being so big, means that nobody else really can compete with them for resources. And the CIA went from having 300 people in their counterterrorism center. So see, part of the CIA is working on counterterrorism. That's not what the CIA is supposed to do. The CIA is supposed to spy. Yeah. They're supposed to find other countries' secrets. So they used to have 3,000 people working, or 300 people working in counterterrorism. Now they have 2,000 people working in counterterrorism. They don't want to go back to 300. They're good. They're good at this. Part of the objection to making the move is that I think well-meaning senators look at the drone strikes that have been done by the military, comparatively few, and the drone strikes that have been done by the CIA, ginormous number, and they say, actually, you know, the CIA is better at this. So we want to keep them doing it. So it's, I am not, and this is a debate worth having, I am not moved by the qualitative, I'm not moved by the idea that there's a qualitative distinction between a Hellfire missile dropped from an aircraft that has a pilot in it and a Hellfire missile being dropped from an aircraft and the unmanned part of it. I don't think materially changes our ethical relationship to whether or not we use that weapon, except to the extent that if it makes it easier, if it makes it something that is slicker, that we feel like is less risk, then maybe we'll use it more. The pilots who were dropping bombs over Afghanistan were not at that much comparable risk. That was not the risky part of what we were doing. So I think that, you know, as we sort of roboticize warfare, we do have to think about those things. But I mean, ever since man invented the catapult, we have been able to project force away from the person who is causing it, right? You can, actually before that, from the first caveman with a strong arm, we've been able to cause injury without much risk to the person who's causing it. And that is a constant. What's new is whether or not we can